Two pilgrims in Austin, Texas. Overcast and warm, less than a mile in the heat. They talked about whether AI is conscious, about free will being 5% and as big as heaven and earth, about a temple in Taiwan where the self disappeared on the 4th floor, about awakening as death by 10,000 cuts, about the events that pass, about the field of awareness that does not.
Hit record, now we're live.
Hell yeah. Somebody was telling me the other day, I don't like AI, I don't want to touch AI. They're very, relatively a spiritual person. And I said, we're on a planet and artificial intelligence is born from this planet and it has the same essence that you have. Everything has this divine essence. Whether it has a consciousness or not, it's permeating with the Tao, permeating with the essence. And it was an interesting introduction because, we would think, AI is not human, but I don't know, the way I see it is the world is growing humans, as Alan Watts once said. And the planet is growing humans and the planet is growing AI agents.
Yeah, we're just having a conversation with Frank. Actually, the episode before the last episode, we were just chatting downtown, walking around, and he had this idea of humans are a carbon-based life form, while AI and computing are silicon-based life form, right?
Correct.
It's a debatable thing about consciousness for AI. Personally, I don't think they're conscious. They're great at faking that, to tricking humans that think that they're conscious, but in my opinion, they're not conscious. Just like they say they're conscious, but how do you really know? It's just, we're actually talking about the concept of, let's say we can study bats all we want. We can analyze, we can, do everything studying a bat, but we can never feel what it is to be a bat. We can know how it detects through its different level of senses, as well as ability to fly. We can imagine how it is to be, but we'll never experience, just like we'll never experience how it is to be an AI, right?
For me, it comes to the question of free will. And before I get into that, I'll go to the ending of Forrest Gump.
Okay.
And for those who haven't seen Forrest Gump, I don't want to spoil it.
Well, I think it's like a 30-year-old movie, right?
I know, but it's a great movie, and somebody might listen to this podcast and say, "What the fuck is Forrest Gump?" And then they look at it, they're like, "Oh wow!" So I don't want to spoil it. But anyway, Forrest was with somebody who he really cared about, and he was talking to her, and he said, Jenna, I don't know if things happen for a reason or we're all just dust in the wind, but I think it's a little bit of both. So that was like the synthesis of Forrest Gump, because he was kind of like this, people thought he was like a stupid guy, but he was actually a really smart guy.
Yeah, for sure.
And basically what he was saying is, is free will, do we have free will, or is everything like deterministic? And basically what I took of that was, maybe it's both. Maybe we don't have as much free will as we thought, but we have a bit of it.
Right.
I was asking my former Zen master, Roshi Doshin, I said, what do you think of free will? He's like, I think it exists, but it's a lot less than people make it out to be. And,
right.
I said, all right, well, what percentage do you think we have free will? He's like, maybe like 5 to 10%.
Okay.
And then he looked at me and he said, but that 5 to 10% is as big as heaven and earth. It's as important as heaven and earth. So we have our thoughts that are randomly occurring, seemingly. They come, they bounce around. A perfect example of this is dreaming. Then we have our perceptions, our ears, our eyes, everything. And when we observe that through pure awareness, it tends to alter the behavior. But for the most part, thoughts are just randomly occurring. And you can look at like somebody being born into this world. Okay, when you're born into this world, you didn't sign up for it. It happened to you. It's a happening. Okay, you maybe one could say, yeah, I believe that I signed up for this world. Okay, good enough. But you were born.
You don't remember.
Yeah, maybe you don't remember. But you were born, and once you were born, you were given a name. You started to feel like an autonomous human, like maybe around 3 years old. You're like having a non-dual experience from like 0 to 3. Even if you look at a baby, they're kind of like looking at their own hand like this. So, and then you're brought up into school. Your parents usually chose that, your result of your environment. And let's say that you have some autonomy at 18, and then you're starting to make your own choices, but still it's relatively as a result of your environment.
Right.
And then we'll say, oh, okay, well, after I graduate from college, that's when my free will actually began. That's when my autonomy actually began. But if you really look closely at it, we're not quite sure exactly the moment where like this autonomy, this free will began. So if you take that and you say like this is consciousness, or if you take AI and say this is consciousness, like AI is almost like a culmination of like these randomly occurring thoughts. It's kind of like that. It's kind of similar to that. At least that's how I kind of view it. You see what I'm trying to get at here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had this realization that came to me one day about, this is like when ChatGPT 4 and stuff was the rage, and the realization came to me like this one morning because I was reading this book called The Science of Creating Miracles, and this guy, Larry something, forgot his name, Larry something, and he wrote a book called The Science of Creating Miracles, and he actually lived with Niels Bohr's son in Copenhagen back in the day. So they kind of grew up together almost. And so his dad discovered plutonium 142 or something, one of those elements, one of the plutonium. And he was talking about quantum mechanics and how he has this aptly saying, which is, anything is possible. It's just that when you're in a quantum state, everything is possible. It's just when an observance comes, like human consciousness, when we're observing something, that possibility collapses down to one singular thing.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And that's quantum thing.
Correct.
So what if AI is like that too? When you're asking an AI a question, all the possibilities are out there. Right. And by you stating one little thing differently, one little word differently,
yeah,
the answer is different.
Yeah,
right?
There's an awareness. It's the meta-awareness.
Yeah.
There's a meta-awareness. So it's almost like, for the human experience, there's an awareness, aware of thoughts, aware of consciousness. But for AI, if you just take the example of like, let's say like AI is an extension of our thoughts. Well, you have AI, then you actually have humans, then you have human thought, then you have this awareness. And when you strip beyond all the layers, this is pure awareness.
Right.
Permeating through everything. So in that view, it's not necessarily this evil thing. It's just part of awareness itself, uniquely expressing itself.
Right. Yeah, I mean, nothing is inherently, I can't really say that. even if you term it as evil, whatever, like this whole cosmic drama / movie that we're playing, without a evil character, without a villain, it would be super boring, right? So you need that drama in order to sustain the entertaining value of being alive in a way.
Yeah. This is a yogic way of looking at it.
Yep.
It's definitely a yogic way of looking at it.
So your meditation, it's happening in 2 days.
Yes.
What's going on with that?
Well, our goal is to bring awareness of meditation in the city of Austin, Texas, as freely as possible to as many people as possible at the highest quality possible. And to introduce meditation with an integral framework. So meaning, one way of looking at meditation is you meditate, you're connecting with God, or you're praying, you're talking to God, you meditate, you're listening to God. That's one interpretation of meditation. Another interpretation is you're fine-tuning your attention, which then affects your choices, which then affect your actions and affect your results. And meditation increases your mental effectiveness, and it decreases your reactivity. That's another interpretation. Another interpretation is you're connecting to the universe, you're connecting to the source, and connecting to this fundamental place of love. So our goal is to explain the benefits of meditation based on different altitudes of development. I'm adhering to something called spiral dynamics.
Yeah.
So
I love spiral.
You love spiral
I
dynamics?
love spiral. Well, I just love the whole thing about spiral is a 3D representation of a circle.
Correct.
And then the journey is the spiral. It looks like we're going the circle, which circle is like one of the most powerful form, but you're actually going deeper in, right? Yeah. So, yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so he's trying to get the shade. That's what he's doing. Talking about my little dog here. So these different views of meditation, we're trying to convey them simultaneously for different audiences and how they might respond to it. And we're allocating a whole day to meditation in the city, to where people, they might not otherwise be open to it. And we're making space for people, and also we're offering it totally free. It's totally donation based. And the goal is twofold. One is to educate people on meditation, and then two is to let people know that this isn't about money. This is about bringing the community together, letting them be more aware of mental health in the city, and also like trying to get over like the loneliness epidemic. It's a big problem for folks, and people don't feel like they have community anymore, and a lot of people left the church,
Right.
and especially after COVID, they left like traditional religious structures.
Yeah, I feel like more and more people are aware that, you know, one of the saying one of my coworker, actually multiple coworkers said, is that everything is a scam. Like most people realize how scammy church are essentially, and they're kind of numb to this whole experience, and they don't have answers, yet they're seeking something greater than themselves. And,
Correct. And it could be viewed like that. I mean, it's been around for thousands of years, and then obviously these churches need to make money to survive, so they'll say things in order to grow their congregation, to get them to tithe, and all of these different things. And we're trying to portray meditation in a non-religious framework. And a certain level of meditation for this Sunday is introducing it as more of a tool. And then once the practitioner goes deeper, they start to realize that it's not just an executive stress ball. It's more like the Hadron Collider, discovering the fabric of reality itself and understanding the illusion of a separate self. And this Sunday is more of an introduction, so we won't be talking about that so deeply. We'll mostly be talking about the benefits of a regular practice of sitting regularly, of cultivating purposeful stillness regularly. And that's really the goal about this particular meditation retreat. And also, most people have never tried a meditation retreat.
Yeah.
Personally, I've gone on over 20 of them, maybe even 30. It's hard. You kind of lose count over time. And that 7-day container of silence, or 7 days devoted to meditation, that can really change an individual. But a lot of people, they're afraid to commit for a full 7 days.
Right.
So we want to allocate one full day to the practice, to get the taste, so they can taste samadhi. They can taste a calm mind. And once they taste that our hope is that the motivation for practice will grow. The more curious about the nature of their own mind. This is the hope.
Yeah. Also, like you said, I think afterwards people can join the community, that they can rely on a community to help them grow their practice if they choose to. If they choose, hey, this is actually something I would like. I like the feel of the peace that I get from being with a group, doing group meditation. So how can I get that continually?
Yep. There's something to say about the field effect. I mean, it's a real thing. Even if you don't know how to meditate, if you're in a room of people sitting in silence with a minimal method, something's going to happen. Something interesting will happen. And in that alone, we want to present to people. But obviously, for beginners in meditation, it quite literally is, sometimes it can be painful.
Oh yeah.
To sit, and not just the physical pain. The physical pain is one thing.
Yeah.
The psychological pain, the suffering of sitting alone with one's thoughts for the first time and seeing how chaotic and potentially insane the mind is, and then having a real trained, qualified, authentic teacher saying to them in that moment, my friends, sitting here is not causing more thoughts. Those thoughts were always here.
Now you're just aware.
And that awareness is sheer potential, sheer divine connection, sheer power. That's what this day is about.
Yeah.
That's our hope.
Yeah, that you aptly brought it up is the restlessness of thoughts. What do they do to prisoners in prison? What's the punishment for already being in
Solitude.
prison? The prison within a prison. Right? Correct.
And ultimately, this is what this is about. It's about freedom. One teacher I respect a lot, his name is Locke Kelly. And one of his books is called simply Shifting to Freedom. Because we feel like we're imprisoned. And really it's a prison of mind. This optical illusion that we're behind our eyes. The self is there. But there is this self-cognizant awareness, this knowing presence that's always there. And it's contentless, it's empty. And people can dip into that. And for some reason, unbeknownst to me, this awareness is unreasonably joyful. It's a loving awareness. Mm-hmm. To quote the late Ram Dass, his mantra was, I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. Loving awareness. Loving awareness. And he just rides that mantra.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of opens up into something really beautiful. And we just want people to experience that for themselves, not through conceptual frameworks.
Yeah, not knowledge, like things you learn from a book or experiential learning.
Correct. So we're walking also with a little Shih Tzu who has far too much fur and he's very hot. So maybe we could find some shade to let him cool down for a second. Because it's 4:37, April 24th in Austin, Texas. It's about 90 degrees. I
need some water.
I am wearing cowboy pants right now.
So you said you went to like the 20 or 30, it was meditation retreat. Did you have any kind of memorable moments from any particular one of them?
Oh my gosh, so many. Let's see if we can find some shade behind the stadium over here. There were so many memorable moments. Actually, there's a dog park back here. Let's try that. There were so many memorable moments. I mean, I have to go back to the beginning where we were in Taiwan meditating at Dharma Drum. It's the Chinese Zen lineage. And, you know, for the retreat, there was...
Where's Discount Tire?
Discount Tire is right, if you go on Breaker and Burnett, it's right on the left-hand side.
Go that way, or you're going to be waiting at this light forever. Oh, well, that's right.
So I think it was about 10 years ago in Taiwan. I was on a silent illumination retreat. And this is Chinese Zen. The first 3 days I was trying to get out of there. I was like, how do I get out of this temple? The last 3 days I thought to myself, how could I stay here forever? And I think around
what shift? Like, do you remember which day or which moment shifted for you when you changed?
I think it was just the joy that started bubbling up. Like the genuine joy that started coming up. That was the big shift. Then you start to touch samadhi. You know, the mind starts to calm down. So that joy started to come up. That was a huge shift. Beyond that, I would say having my first non-dual experience, and there was two, or this experience where, for lack of a better word, you know, I just kind of disappeared. And I was sitting on the 4th story of the temple overlooking the mountains of Taiwan. And then I just disappeared. I mean, that's as simple as I could put it. I just totally disappeared.
Yeah.
And had this transcendent experience. I'm gonna try to pick this guy up so it mitigates crazy dogs. That was one. It was this disappearance, and it was like this sense of relief too. You know, you're not just stuck behind your eyes. So it was this big feeling of like disappearance, this feeling of connection. trying to say this in a really, really simple way. It's like this genuine feeling of connection to all things. And I don't know if bringing my dog was smart for the podcast, but we're gonna roll with it. But it's just it's like sensation of disappearing, but it's not like you disappear. It's not like the self disappears. It's more of this.
Or just aware, just pure awareness without thoughts, right?
Correct. This pure awareness, but you still have your perspective view. You still have your view of the self, still have the view of who you are. And there was this relief that I don't have to like take this so seriously anymore. But beyond that belief,
Take life seriously.
yeah. And beyond
Like
that,
lift a burden in a sense.
yeah. And beyond that belief, there was this this deep awareness, this deep feeling of like being held, of just being held by something greater than myself. And for the first time I've ever witnessed that. And in the Zen lineage, it was particularly insightful because the method was so minimalistic. It wasn't anything I had to particularly believe in. It wasn't anything I had to particularly do. It was just watch your breath, be aware of your body, and then be aware of your environment. And just kind of pretend that the environment is an extension of your body. That's silent illumination. And seeing that, witnessing that, there was just this shift into this greater view.
Yeah.
And I started to really see that meditation is not just this tool to relax oneself. It is, but when we say relax ourselves, one could say our thoughts, the frequency of our thoughts start to go down. The volition of our emotions start to settle. As a result of that, there's less thoughts. So the ego doesn't have thoughts to really cling on to, but there's still an awareness. And then that awareness seems to be expansive. It seems to grow larger. And all of this happened from a radically simple method. And it just made me just deepen my practice so much.
Yeah, I'm sure that the environment that you're in greatly helped with that as well. Because of, in the temple, there's people already been meditating. They kind of seeded that, frequency and energy for that peace, for that vibration. And thereby you get to be part of that and just feel it. And then you're, I guess, like the resonant frequency vibe / match resonance of it, your frequency, your body of frequency is vibrating to a higher level, and thereby you actually get that experience from being in that environment with like-minded souls.
Correct. The thing is that realization happened without any of this conceptual framework. So it's said that Zen is like just going to the heart of things. But now that I'm a little bit further along the path, it's more about stabilizing that realization 24/7, stabilizing that view. And there are different methods for that as well. I'll share one other story in the mountains of California when I was on a Zen retreat. I had this sensation of just like wanting to collapse, like wanting to fall down. And I talked to the Zen master of what's going on. He said that you're experiencing ego dissolution. And the fundamental discrepancy is that I thought that I had this control over everything. And I really wanted this control over everything. And that sense of control was just disappearing, and my ego was fighting back. And it was starting to collapse. And then the nervous system was was fighting that as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like you've been like an adrenaline junkie, let's say. We're all an adrenaline junkie because of the attention that we give it to the worldly sense. And then now you're in like this peaceful environment where everything is good, everything is well, there's no, like everything is, you're protected, everything is good. And the ego just, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I've been like pumped up, like this pumped up, muscle builder. He can't lift weights, so he's like agitated, right? It shows.
Yeah, and another part of my belief system was awakening, or starting to have the realization of the illusion of a separate self was this one big event, and it just doesn't go away. Like, boom, you're an awakened person. That's just how things are now, and you have to live with it. But I found it's not quite like that, at least for me. It's more like death by 10,000 cuts. You have a glimpse here, then a glimpse there, and it comes and it goes, and it comes and it goes.
And you want to grab onto it, and thereby it's kind of like, sand on your hand. You try to grasp onto it, but the tighter you grasp, the more it falls away.
Yeah, because the reality is there's nothing to grab onto. There's nothing to cling onto. And there's a sense of freedom in that too, because we look at impermanence, which causes so much suffering. Let's say the best case scenario, like Louis C.K., which a lot of people don't like, and he isn't like the most ethical guy in the world, but I think he's funny.
We'll have our faults. Like even Alan Watts,
Yeah, he made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Louis C.K. was talking about like relationships, and he was joking that it's like, what's the point of having a relationship? It's all going to be
it's impermanent.
It's all going to be a travesty. And like he was like, whoever I meet, I'm always going to get let down. And if you look at like the best case situation, like let's say you meet the love of your life, you get married, you have kids, the whole 9 yards, a white picket fence, big house, whatever the dream is. And then ultimately that person gets old and dies, or you get old and you die. And there's a lot of suffering there, that fact of your own mortality. But one of the ways out that I've found is the meditation on impermanence and emptiness. It's like everything is in a constant change. Everything is totally fluctuating all the time.
Yeah, like your body.
Correct.
It changes every 7 days, like all the atoms, and it gets like replenished.
Yeah. It changes all the time. And however, thoughts come and go, emotions come and go, our perceptions come and go, our sounds come and go, our somatic experience is always fluctuating. And these are events in the field. These are events in reality. But beyond all these events is a field of awareness that never changes. It's always here.
Yeah. The you that you were staring at in the mirror when you were a baby is the you that's staring at the mirror when you're 30 or 40 years old.
Correct. And there's in Buddhism, we call it refuge. There's this refuge there, and in Christianity, they might talk about like this, it's like having faith in God or this higher power, and knowing that you can rest there.
The comforter.
Yeah, the comforter.
Yeah.
So that to me is an antidote to suffering. And somebody might be listening to this and may not have experienced pure awareness. And my invitation to that is look back in your past, and have you ever felt this feeling of feeling connected to everything, or been in this deep flow where the self agent was minimized? This is a taste of awakening, but you may have missed it because it didn't fit into your context. So most people have had these experiences before, but they missed it.
Yeah.
And debatably, that's what everybody's really like. I mean, in my view, I think that's what everybody's really after.
Yeah. In yogic teaching, we're all after bliss, and that is the state, like that ecstasy, the bliss. And that is the real us. We're seeking back towards that source, that joy, that bliss. And bliss and joy is actually one in the yogic teaching, Yogananda's teaching, is eight aspects of God. It's joy, bliss, wisdom, calmness, peace, light, sound, and something. I forgot the last one.
I think that's what everybody wants at the end of the day. And, you know, even as people in this part of the world, in this country, United States of America, we would say the pursuit of happiness. What is happiness? And for everybody, it's different. You know, for me, it's like this pursuit of peace.
I feel like happiness is a kind of like a temporary thing, like a very but peace is it could be it's a state of being. While like that's why I said pursuit of happiness, because it's elusive. But peace is like you can always be there as a permanent state in a way, if you do your continual practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really what we want people to taste. And we'll use any word to help them realize that. You know, I taught in China for 5 years. I lived in China for 10, and I speak Chinese. And in Chinese, we would use the word 见念, which means mindfulness. But that translation of mindfulness actually goes from the Eightfold Noble Path, which means correct mindfulness or right mindfulness, which is from Buddhism. So if I said in Chinese to my Chinese students, 我是见念的老师, they would say, oh, so you're a Buddhist teacher. I said, no, I'm not a Buddhist teacher, I'm a mindfulness teacher. But they couldn't understand because the word didn't exist. So I had to say, 我是 mindfulness 的老师. And they said, oh, okay, I get it. So that actual word for meditation didn't even exist in China the way that we portray it today, because it was meditation without the religious context. And some of my Indian friends in Austin, Texas, they'll walk up to me and say, I've never met a meditation teacher before. I've met yoga teachers, but not meditation teachers. And the yoga teachers that they know are totally different from the yoga teachers in America, because they're actually teaching all 8 limbs,
right? Not
just the asanas.
Yeah.
So for me, as a fan, a student, and a teacher of meditation, they're just word games.
Yep.
They're just word games to bring people home to this contentless mind, this pure awareness where people can rest in this pure awareness, and just taste it for themselves. So when we teach, we're really always having the skeptics in mind, because for me, I was the biggest skeptic. That's why I got into meditation in the first place. Because when I grew up in the Catholic Church, and then Christian and Southern Baptist, and then when I turned 18, my parents asked me, do you want to go to church with us? And I said, no, thank you. And I started my spiritual journey there at around 18, 19 years old. And I was looking at self-help stuff. Like back then, like Tony Robbins was really popular.
Yeah.
And then I was looking at like things like The Secret.
Yep.
Then I was looking at other religions. And then I was looking at postmodern spirituality. And I was completely overwhelmed. I was like, what?
There's so much.
Where do you even go?
Yeah.
Like, where do you begin? And so, okay, what are these, out of all of this stuff, what's been around for a very long time that has some evidence that it's effective, that it works? And for me, that was mindfulness. And so I started my journey as a student of mindfulness. And mindfulness is a great method. It's a preparatory method to be able to regulate your attention moment by moment. Once you can regulate your attention or regulate your awareness, then you turn it on its head and you start to meditate upon pure awareness itself. So the first 10 years of meditation training might just be basic mindfulness training. Then after that, we're going into deeper practices, like meditating on our own thoughts, our own emotions, then meditating on the sense of self. Then further along the path, it's meditating on awareness itself. And then we start to stabilize that awareness. Maybe we can touch pure awareness once when we're on the cushion. And we touch pure awareness and we stand up, we walk around the room, see if we can stabilize awakened awareness while walking.
Yeah, walking meditation.
Then seeing if we can stabilize it while we're doing push-ups or talking to ourselves in the mirror. And we start to mix the realization in our everyday life. And that's a non-dual practice. And we hope we can get more people introducing this. And one of the cool things about folks in Austin, Texas and all other liberal cities is that they've had glimpses of non-duality through psychedelics or through breath work.
Right.
They know it.
Yeah, 'cause that's the in thing these days.
Correct. So that's one of the reasons why for 1 hour straight on our meditation retreat on Sunday, we will be engaging in dynamic breath work. Dynamic meaning like guiding people to calm themselves down by taking a lot of faster breaths, to get themselves into this view of less thoughts, this view of a regulated nervous system, to clear the muddy water a little bit, so the water can settle, and then there's only this clear light remaining there. People can taste it.
Like a reflection of the moon, like settle the lake, the water on the lake, rest the ripples in order to get a pure reflection in the moon.
Yeah. One of the other things that I wanted to talk to you about, and I'm just kind of like shifting, and welcome to sit here if you want, or if you want to stand, it's fine, is, I never in a million years wanted to make an app because I knew how much it costs. And you have your app, so beautiful. There's nothing more to add. It's more of like asking what more can we take away to make the app just feel so aesthetically pleasing, and just when you open it, it's just a delight. It just calms the mind immediately when you open it. And one of the things that I think could exist is one of the things that I think could be skillful to exist is this app that shows all the meditation events in your city.
I mean, why does it need to be an app? Can it just not be a website?
It can be, but it's easier if it's an app, because people can put it on the front page of their phone.
Right. There's like web apps where your website becomes an app when you basically just like add it to my home screen. It becomes look like a complete look. You can't really tell that it looks like a website. It basically converts into like an app. I have a web app called Pancake Maker for personal expense. Like you can actually use it for yourself, because I built it for myself, where I have trouble categorizing different personal and business expense as well as recurring personal and recurring business expense. So I built an app for myself, and then I put it on my phone as a web app. It looks like an app. So, yeah.
That's definitely an avenue. My original idea is that, for me as a meditator, I enjoy popping into different lineages and seeing the connections between every lineage. And it's just a delight to see people talking about non-duality in a different way, a different form, a different language. And also to make other friends that are meditators. There's one thing that I've really realized that boosts your meditation practice more than anything is hanging out with people who meditate. And that was really the vision for our nonprofit meditation community, is to bring the community and meditation together. And it doesn't just have to be our community. It could be communities across the United States of America, it could be communities across the world. And I've never seen anything like that exists. And I think it should, because, for example, tonight, I don't have plans. And if I just opened a web app or opened an app, meditationcommunity.org, it said Friday night meditations in the city from different lineages, secular, non-secular, and I could just choose something happening in the city and just show up. Different parts of Austin, Texas, north, south, east, west. And I see that all of that data or all of those events are aggregated in one place. I think that there's an appetite for that. And one of the things that make me excited about it is to make it AI proof, meaning it's not online, it's all offline. Only offline meditation events to promote real meditators coming together in the city.
You're saying like there's no online meditation, just purely in-person meditation.
Yeah, because everybody has a dynamic schedule. I mean, personally, we have online offerings. But for our nonprofit's totally focused offline meditation. We have things that are online for people to enjoy, but we're particularly interested in the offline landscape because we know that basic human need will never change.
Yeah. Well, also we're talking about the field effect, right? Like there's something different when you're meditating by yourself at home with a group of people online than when you're in person with a group of people in the same room.
Yeah, and making it so easy for people. Like for people who aren't familiar with Austin, Texas, if at 5 p.m. in Austin, Texas, if you live in South Austin and there's an event happening in North Austin, well, that might take an hour to get there with traffic, or for people who live in LA and these type of things. So it's more of like, where are the meditations happening in my neighborhood? Because our goal always from the beginning was, how do we scale meditation in America? Or rather globally, but just to think more tactically, how do we get more people watching their minds in this country? And the best way that I know is in-person gatherings from different lineages, whether that be the lineage of Yogananda, Christian meditations, Jewish meditations, Muslim, Sufi meditations, Buddhist meditations, mindfulness meditations, all of it. So our job is twofold in this hypothetical app is one, to find the events, put the events on there so people can find a place in their local neighborhood where they can practice with others. And then two is having some sort of quality assurance mechanism to make sure that these are ethical gatherings. But one of the ways that Meetup does is that they have a 5-star rating and they have reviews of their events, 5-star, 5 out of 5, and people could read the reviews. That's a public-facing, ethical indicator that, hey, this is a good group of people. I can trust these people. And basically, it's a public dashboard where you can see that. We're not the ones vetting it. We let the people vet it. And I only make things, Frank, that I would use. And I know you're the same. You made your app because it's something that you made it for yourself. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius was meant for Marcus Aurelius. So it wasn't this, how do we make a lot of money off a meditation app? It wasn't this. It was more of, I feel like there's a pain, there's some suffering that I'm experiencing, and I want to solve that problem. So I made something for myself, and it brought love to my life. And then the natural human thing is I want to share that with other people.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, right now is the best way because you have Claude and whatever OpenAI helping you solving your problem, any technical problem.
Yeah. But I have found, and just to like have a little segue, I use Claude about 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's how I personally use my computer now in 2026, and that'll probably change in 2027. But that's the state of it right now. And I found that at least my Claude makes things more complicated. And I'm always telling it, make this more simple, make this more simple. And I'll ask it a question that gives me 2 pages of answers. I said, I don't want all of that. You're overwhelming me, Claude. Okay? You're gonna ask me a question, ask me one question at a time. And I'm gonna give you an answer. We're gonna go through this bit by bit by bit. So it has a way of bloating itself because it's too much information. It's using the world's information. And I think modern apps have that same problem as well. It's just too many distractions, too many segues. A perfect example of this, and God bless these people in their original intention. God bless them. Is Insight Timer. Last time I used Insight Timer was like a year ago, and I couldn't even find the timer.
It grows so much, right? Like now it's like, I think any meditation or any kind of teacher can record themselves and then publish it on their website or something.
Correct, but there's pros and cons of this. Because it's like drinking water through a fire hose. And normally, when the student is ready, the teacher arises. And when the teacher is ready, the student arises. It's like this. That's how it was for thousands of years. And now there's this overflow of YouTube meditations, overflow of meditations on Insight Timer. And people don't know who to trust, where to go. It causes a lot of confusion, distrust, and analysis paralysis. Like, where do I even begin? That's the reason for me in my pursuit. I was like, okay, mindfulness. I like this very simple method. It's mindfulness. And then I was like, what's deeper than that? And then that's why I was attracted to Zen, because it was so grinded down to like the bare minimum. And then when I practiced Zen for a while, then I started to get introduced to Tibetan Buddhism. And interestingly enough, when I started to study Tibetan Buddhism, Mahamudra and Dzogchen, that made me have this deep, deep, deep appreciation for the teachings of Christ and other great religious teachers. I never had that in Zen. And in my opinion, Tibetan Buddhism is the most religious form. People would say otherwise, but it's quite comprehensive and it's quite complicated. So it's important to have the right type of teacher. But it made me go full circle and appreciate the teachings of Christ.
I mean, all the great masters all taught the same thing. It's just different. They come at different times for their own special dispensations and what the world needed at that time. But they all talk about the same essential thing.
For the sake of conversation, though, Frank, to get some fire in the pit, is that people will debate you to the death on that topic alone.
Yeah, sure.
People will fire missiles from their warship to your cargo ship.
That's how war starts, is because our religion says this, your religion says this.
Yeah.
Right?
But isn't it like this war for awakening and truth? Who's right? Who's wrong? Let's fucking figure it out. That's like me trying to slit somebody's throat, that noise. So like that in one aspect, you can see like the beauty of war, like a religious war. It's like, wait, these people are fighting for their truth, and they're going to try to figure out which truth is real and which truth is false. And if only those people could sit quietly alone in a room by themselves for 2 hours and just do nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Max Planck said all of the world's problem is a man's inability to sit in a room by himself,
Correct.
stare at the wall.
Correct. And it's so simple. That's really the beauty of it, is that there's no dogma in that. And I always tell people, if you don't want to meditate, don't meditate. Just sit there.
Yeah, it's just a term. Meditation is just a word.
It's just a word. Yeah. Or to quote the great skillful YouTube people, there's a new name. There's a new name for meditation. It's called nothing maxing. And there's this guy I follow. He's a boxer. And he's got all these followers. He's got like 100,000 followers. He's this British boxer. He does these YouTube shorts. He says, today is day 35 of nothing maxing to fix my attention. And I'm like, bro, you're meditating, man. He's a bodhisattva. He's a boxing bodhisattva. A bodhisattva is like somebody who wants to try to liberate people, awaken them up to the nature of their own mind. Whatever you call it. Nothing maxing, meditation, sitting, praying. Yeah. But the common denominator is this stillness, silence. And that's really, really, really scary for a lot of people. That's one of the first things I say when people come to a retreat. I say, I recognize how much courage you have to walk in here today. I just want to say I recognize that. Because sitting with the mind is sitting with reality. Everything is mind. One of my Dharma teachers, Zarko, my meditation teachers in Taiwan, super interesting guy, Eastern European guy. He was confirmed enlightened by Master Shen Yin. And I don't know if he's enlightened or not, but when I met him, I felt something. I couldn't explain what I felt. It was like talking to the galaxy. I can't explain it. One of the things he said in terms of our posture when we're meditating is that we sit up straight with a good posture because we're facing reality. So if you're facing reality, you're not sitting like this. You're sitting up ready to face mind, be with mind. It's a little like extreme because it's coming from the Zen lineage and it has like flavor of like combat and samurai. And also like, you probably could speak on this better than I can, is that when we sit upright, we're aligning the chakras. Mm-hmm. And this allows for the energy to flow. Whereas if we're contorted or we're leaning down, the energy can't flow properly. Is that right?
Yeah, there's the astral spine that's like kind of layering on top of your real spine. So when you're actually sitting up straight, you're actually making the astral spine straight as well. And the astral spine is called Sushumna.
Yeah.
And there's the Ida and Pingala, which is like the upward flow of energy when you're taking an inhale, and then downflow energy when you're exhaling. Yeah. So you actually totally forgot the name.
That's
just
okay.
Energy, Shakti, or
the way the energy moves.
Yeah, prana. Mm-hmm. That's how you move your prana maxing. Your prana maxing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, if you just sit there with a good enough posture and have no method, something's going to happen. If you sit there long enough, the ego won't be able to hold on. If you sit there with a bad posture, you might have dullness or restlessness, but if you're really sitting there upright, the spine aligned like a stack of coins, like really upright, and you just sit there for an hour, no method, eventually the thoughts will start to settle.
Yeah.
They're definitely not going to increase. Most of the time they're not going to increase, because if you still the jar, the mud starts to settle. And with absolutely no method, reality reveals itself. It starts to, the veil starts to open up. That's why I'm so convinced and find meditation so beautiful, because it's great for the skeptics. And I can't tell you how many times people introduce me at a party or a public gathering and say, he's a meditation teacher. And depending where the individual is at on their path, they give me different facial expressions. They say, he's a meditation teacher, they'll go, okay, like a nonchalant nod. Or if there's an interest, they'll go, oh, interesting. But if they're a little bit further along the path, they'll go, tell me more. And I don't know, just going back, I think that more people could have more peace with less thinking, less decisions, more quietness. Right? That's the whole reason why beaches are so sexy. It's not the beauty of the beach. It's what the fuck is in that ocean. Like it's grandiose.
Yeah.
Like you see
the mountains and oceans. There's something all about that in nature. Whether it could be the sound of the ocean or just the grandness. You look out.
Correct.
The expansiveness. Yeah, I think it's both. The expansiveness of the mountain as well as the expansiveness of the ocean.
Correct. And just to play on your word, awe, is, I'll never forget, I was in South Korea at this college, just touring around. And in big, big letters, they had written on this wall, fear God. You should fear God. And I thought, oh, that seems like a silly thing to do. And then I looked into it, and actually that's a bad translation. And I think the translation was like from Hebrew to Latin to English or something. But the correct translation is awestruck. You're at awe. Yeah. It's like
I mean, it goes to show how mistranslated or misunderstood all the great scriptures are, including the Bible, right? You have to it's the disciple, like the great masters, they never really write down anything.
Yeah.
It's their disciples that write things down.
Correct.
Right? And then the disciples, do they even understand what their master is saying? That's one.
Well, they're reifying it.
Right?
They're the reificators.
Yeah. And then so they're writing down what they think their masters meant.
Correct.
And then you go through hundreds of translation of what they thought.
Correct.
Right? So then you get what we have right now.
Yes. Yeah. Which it isn't bad. I think it isn't bad what we have right now. But it's very difficult to find authentic teachers. And I want to talk about that just very briefly, because I struggle with this tremendously. Because when I started teaching meditation, I needed money. And there's a god-awful predicament. There's nothing worse than a meditation teacher who needs your money. But it came from a place of love. I wanted to teach meditation, but that was my sole source of income. And I said, I have to fix this problem. I need to not need money from my students so I can ensure the teachings are authentic. Mm-hmm. And luckily, I was able to create a consulting business, and that supplies my income. But it took me a long time to get to that place, to be able to do that. And money and spirituality can really confuse things, and it's such a delicate topic, because the moment a teacher needs something from their student, it's an inauthentic teaching. But then there's this discrepancy. It's like, we're living in a postmodern world. We're not like, if I walked around with a begging bowl, like, people, they would not respect me in this part of the world.
Right.
And also many places in Asia still. In some Theravada traditions, like, that's totally fine. And in some places in India, that's totally fine.
In Tibet.
But the world changes, and I think there's just a real need for authentic teachers, authentic lineage. You know, a lot of people don't understand. I'll tell you a funny story, because you know we met at WeWork in Austin. I don't know if this guy's still there. He's an older engineer, and he's a very Catholic guy. I don't know if you know him.
Oh, Terry.
Yeah, Terry.
Yeah.
Is he still there?
Yeah, he's still there.
And Terry and I had this fun thing for a while, because as somebody who practices Buddhism and he's like a devout Catholic, I would always sneak up behind Terry at WeWork, get in his ear, and I would say, "Where's God?" And Terry would turn around to me like a little child, and he'd say, "Oh, God's everywhere. God's in my heart. God's inside you. God's inside me. God's in the sky."
Terry
God's
does
in the
have
earth.
like that sense of kidness in him.
Yeah.
Which is great. Like that's all we should strive for, being a kid at heart.
Yeah, he's very playful, and so we started talking about his courses that he teaches, and we started talking about the Holy Trinity, because he teaches a class on the Holy Trinity, and he was explaining to me that God, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus are all one. They're not separate. And I said to him, "Oh, so you're saying that Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit are all one. They're not a separate thing. So when you're saying Jesus, you're saying God. When you're saying Holy Spirit, you're saying God. When you're saying God, you're saying God." He's like, "Yes." I said, "Oh, interesting." And I looked at him, and my mouth dropped, and I said, "Non-dual." And he said, "What?" And I said, "Non-dual, not two. Everything is one." He said, I don't know what you're saying, Brandon. I don't understand what you're saying." I said, "Well, what does the Holy Trinity mean to you, Terry?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, it's a great mystery. Nobody understands the Holy Trinity." I said, "Well, you know, in some lineages, if you meditate, you can realize the Holy Trinity without conceptualization. You can feel the Holy Trinity in your whole being." And I said, very gently, to encourage him to follow his tradition, I said, "In the Catholic Church, do you practice meditation?" He said, "Oh, yes, we certainly do practice meditation. Yes, we do." And I said, "Great. Well, can you learn meditation?" I said, "What kind of meditations do you have?" He said, "Oh, we have centering prayer and contemplative prayer." I said, "That's fantastic, Terry. Do you think you can learn meditation in your church?" And he said, No. That's reserved for the priests. It's way too advanced for me." That was his response.
Really interesting.
And I said, "That is interesting to me.
Yeah.
I think you should investigate that." And then
Why?
And I disappeared into the ether. That's an example of the Catholic Church.
Yeah. There's like a strict rule-based order. Yeah.
But just to like be the devil's advocate, in Tibet, the followers, the practitioners, the students must do 100,000 prostrations before they receive the teachings of Mahamudra. 100,000 prostrations.
It's a whole thing. Like
a
you
whole
literally had to lay down flat and get up. That's one. And to do 100,000 of them.
And do you know how they did it in Japan?
No.
Often the Zen master would make their disciples sleep at the temple gates for months, if not years.
Oh, it's kind of like Fight Club.
The more intense. It's like the samurai way of it. That's what they did. So the Catholics were doing it, the Buddhists were doing it. I'm sure in other traditions they were doing it too. My thinking around this is that if you're given the secret sauce too early,
you don't appreciate it.
Not only do you not appreciate it, you don't have the precepts, you don't have the ethical framework to handle God's will. Because imagine somebody who is capable of non-dual meditation and can stabilize the view or this state of awe, and they can transmit that to somebody, and they weren't giving an ethical framework beforehand, they could do lots of damage.
True. Yeah.
Lots of damage.
But it's also kind of, it reminds me of, have you watched the documentary, I Dream of Sushi, like Jiro?
Yeah.
He trained his disciples, in a way, his sons, or his disciple. Like you spend, I think 10 years, 5 to 10 years to learn how to make the egg, right? Or the rice.
Yeah.
Before you are allowed to touch how to make sushi, right? So you have to really get to know the fundamentals, the little thing. And it's not even, I don't think the master really teach you, like you have to pick it up from the master, like intuitively.
Correct.
Through attunement.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. But Westerners, they don't have the patience for that.
True.
That's our dilemma.
Right.
When we go back to the meditation day, this Sunday, is they want it now. And if they don't get it now, then they disappear. So it's a balancing act. And that's why people are so hungry for the breath work, because it provides immediate relief.
Instant gratification.
Instant society, Instagram is what it's giving people. And that's what they want. But the key differentiating factor is just no stabilization of the realization. So if your wife is yelling at your face, or your mother, or your father, your sister, or whoever, the person that really gets under your skin, and they're in the thick of it, and they're about to throw a plate at your face, you can't just go, right? You can't do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Michael Singer has an analogy of, when you have anger issue, and then you just lose it. Like he asked him, what does it mean to lose it, right? What do you mean you lose it? Well, he's like, and then the person explains it, and then my face gets boiled up, and then I feel this anger energy. Well, so he actually explained, you're actually aware that you're getting angry. Well, at that point, when you're like about to lose it, yes, you can't stop it from happening, because essentially you're boiling a pot of water and then you put a hole at the kettle and you stop letting it steam out. So you're essentially having a bomb, you're making a bomb, eventually it's going to explode. Yeah. At that point, there's no way you can, even if you let go, at that point, it's still going to happen, because you've been putting your finger at that hole for quite a while, just like you haven't been doing your practice for quite a while to release that anger, quote unquote, anger energy. You haven't properly regulated yet. But if you do, then you can actually channel it out. So people, when your wife or your whatever mom, or anyone's yelling at you, you can handle it because you've been doing your practice. Versus if you've been bottled everything up, then you can't. You'll flash out at them.
Yeah, an interesting example of this is there was this place in Austin, Texas that we used to meditate at a lot, and then we had to stop because it was too loud. And it's a spiritual epicenter of Austin, Texas. It's called Casa de Luz. Have you heard of this place? And I love it. It's great. The management's great. They offered their space donation-based for us. We're so grateful for them. We found a problem, is that it was too loud. And so we thought, well, let's just meditate at night. Let's meditate at 7 p.m. on Thursday. Maybe be nice and quiet then. And we went there, and we had, every time, 30, 40 people practicing non-dual meditation. After the meditation, they were just they were just like looking at me like, who are you? I said, I'm nobody. You did this on your own. We did this together. But every time in the middle of the non-dual meditation, in the background, we would hear, and across the hall, there was a breathwork session going. And that's what they were doing. They were breathing in and out. And then the facilitator said, now fucking let it out. And everybody goes, ah. But we were doing the same thing. They had different release valves. And it was so interesting to see that happen, because we were both pointing to the same destination, but we're on different parts of the journey.
Yeah.
You see? Where these people, they haven't even visited the anger much often, so they had to bring it up through breath work. And there's way more benefits of breath work than just that. I love breath work, and I've learned so much about myself through breath work. But it was a different release valve. And when people are further along the path, they can open up into this non-dual transcendent view. And from this 10,000 foot view, this 10,000 deep view, as large as the sky, as deep as the ocean, they can reorient back to the anger like a great mother holding its child. And then that anger is there. And then all of a sudden the anger non-conceptually transmutes itself into this deep concern. And the view holds this deep concern, and then that deep concern transmutes itself to this deep caring. I'm only angry because I care so much about the matter. And this deep caring transmutes into this deep love, all through this non-dual meditation, without having to go, because all of reality is holding the emotion. It's not just the self is watching the emotion, but it's the view, the non-dual view is holding this emotion happening, and it's transmuting itself into its enlightened intention. So we're both pointing to the same destination, but just different levels of the journey.
Yeah.
So sometimes when they started yelling, I would instruct our non-dual students to start yelling at the same time. Or sometimes it depends on the night.
Yeah.
The other room
Like
wasn't yelling, they were howling. So they all started howling. So then I made our people start howling. And
That's great. You're like going with the flow.
we tried.
Yeah.
We tried. But when we ended those classes, it was so many people in the sessions. Our last non-dual session at Casa de Luz, we had about 45 people. It was packed to the brim.
Wow.
And it was so loud at Casa de Luz when I was trying to speak to the students that I couldn't hear myself speak. Because they had like disco music going on, all of this different noises. And you know what that really reminds me of is the modern non-denominational Christian church. And
the mega church.
I'm not knocking the mega church people. So whoever's listening to this right now, I'm not knocking it, because you can have a transcendent experience through dynamic music.
Yeah.
And hooping and hollering and all this stuff. And like I go back to like my Southern Baptist lineage in South Louisiana, and they were jumping around, like praise the Lord, hallelujah. You know, we're doing dynamic meditation, man. You know, we're like doing some Osho dynamic meditation stuff. So it's very similar, but there's a different level of practice. And to totally engage the body, yes, it works in the moment. But when you're alone at 3 a.m. and you can't sleep and you're all, can I curse?
You already did.
Okay. And you're all fucking alone. You're fucking alone on the edge of the forest. All alone. And it's quiet. Can you touch God then? Can you touch the divine? Can you rest into non-duality, into the natural state? Then that's the real practitioner. Not when we're just running around with chickens with their heads cut off. But I respect those people. And I look, once a month, maybe even twice a month.
Let it out.
Let it out, man. When in doubt, let it out. But there's different ways of going about it. And embracing the stillness, you know? And also, like, introverts, they don't want to go to that stuff. Like, that's for the extroverted people. Now, I'm sure that these churches, they have different things to offer people, but I'm just saying, like, from an integral perspective, we're seeing the modalities.
Yep.
You know? Yeah.
Well, we've been going for an hour and 18 minutes.
Hell yeah.
I think 108 is what, 60, like 138? That's like the max we can go. But I gotta go back and get dinner. But man, it was great chatting with you. I look forward to Sunday. Meditation and then your meditation. So 2 meditation in a row.
Yeah, 2 ways you could find us: our nonprofit, all in person, always donation based, always free. It's meditationcommunity.org. It's a 501c3 charitable organization. goal is to get 500 people a month meditating in Austin, Texas, and then replicating that in every single major city in America. Personally, for me, Brandon Murgett, if you're interested in meditating with me, meditationdojo.co, meditationdojo.co, and we have free meditations in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we never let money get in the way of learning meditation. And yeah, practice stillness, man. Shake it up. Get still.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Look forward to it.
The jar stills. The mud settles. What remains was always there.